hair up. That's it ready. I had the worst sleep. Why am I still croaky? Welcome everybody, and why do I always clap? Welcome back everybody, this is Marilyn from the Sinus Casa. Yes, my voice is still croaky, 1.5 weeks on. Channeling Steve Jobs today, more chic look. So what are we making today? We are making a dessert recipe. So happens that it is from my Sweets and Treats ebook. So this is available on my website. It is an ebook. I've just printed it off from a local printer, just Officeworks. Printed it off because I like hard copies of recipes. To be honest, I hate having my phone and it locking, and anyway. So it's just a little tip. This weekend, I am actually running my first cookbook club event here in the studio. So I do workshops in here, and I thought once a month I would really love, I'd like to keep this going, but it's my first ever cookbook club. What is it? It is, you buy a ticket, make a dish from a cookbook, whatever you like. I haven't themed it, I haven't put too many rules, just be a recipe from a cookbook of choice. Bring it along with you, along with the cookbook. We eat, we share it together, like 6 of us, 6 to 8. This week it's 6 of us. And we just share a meal together, flick through each other's cookbooks, talk about recipes, exchange recipes, and all that jazz. So very excited for it. At the time of this, it would have already ended, but I will show you behind the scenes of it and on the day. And hopefully we will have it on next month and have a sellout, another one. I'd like to take it on the road. So if anyone's watching and, it's a business or has a workshop and would like to collaborate, would like to have me host it in your space, let me know. Anyway, so I went on a tangent because one of the guests, the attendees, asked me if she could order a caramel slice. So a slab of caramel slice. So I'm actually making it for her, and I thought, I'm making it for her, so why not film it for you guys for this week's episode? I was a little bit stumped on what to make, especially with time. I was like, you know what? She's ordered my salted caramel slice. I'm going to share it with you guys. So this recipe, I hate when I come on here and people are like, this is the best recipe. But it really is a good recipe. It's a solid recipe. It is delicious. The title is Salted Caramel Slice. If you don't like the combination of salt with caramel, leave the salt out and I'll make a beautiful caramel slice. I have been tweaking this recipe for 10 years. Fun fact, I used to do glebe markets in Sydney yonks ago, before I had kids. I'm going to say like 9 years ago. And I used to make this I think it was on once a month. Every time, people would literally come back week on week just to get a piece of this caramel slice. It is that good. So let's start making it. It is an easy recipe. The only annoying thing about it, disclaimer, is that there is a bit of steps, meaning make the base, bake it, let it cool, make the filling, cook the filling, pour it in, bake it, let it cool, put the topping. So it's a dessert that I would do while I'm doing other stuff around the house. So I'm at home doing washing, admin. I will do this dish in stages because there are some parts of it that will require waiting. So you're going to see me like this, making most of the recipe, and then we're going to have to come back tomorrow and just cut it. So I'll probably look, disheveled tomorrow and not well put for you guys. That's just the nature of the dish. So anyway, let's get into it. Friendly reminder, if you're enjoying any of these episodes, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share, especially with a friend, because sometimes we have been looking for a particular recipe and we stumble across a video on here and go, you know what, we were just talking about this, so please watch it, get this recipe, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, ingredients, let's go through each layer. So with a good caramel slice, there is a base layer, like a biscuit layer, there is a beautiful caramel layer, and then there is a chocolate layer. So we will do it in stages. My base is delicious. It is a combination of almond meal, desiccated coconut, to which you can also use shredded coconut, melted butter and caster sugar. Basically combine it in a bowl, pour it in here, bake it, and then we make the filling. So almond meal gives it really that nice earthy, nutty taste. It also makes the base gluten-free. Desiccated coconut, I love the element of coconut. And I know some people are like, I hate coconut. Honestly, if you do not like coconut, you could just replace the desiccated coconut with plain flour. You can make the whole amount, like the combination of the almond meal and the coconut, and just use plain flour. To me, it's not the same. The coconut is very subtle. I'm using desiccated today. The recipe says desiccated. I have, however, used shredded if you like that extra texture. It is obviously a little bit coarser, but desiccated is perfect. You can use brown sugar instead of caster, but that's just what I like. The filling, obviously, put salt. You can leave it out if you don't like salted caramel, golden syrup, condensed milk, butter, good old butter. And that is it. We literally cook it on the stove top before we pour it on top of the base. And then the topping is dark chocolate mixed with a little bit of oil. We melt that over like a little bain marie. And I add some crushed fresh hazelnuts. So it is a bougie caramel slice. It is epic. It is delicious. It's like no other. If you don't like dark chocolate, you can use milk chocolate. But I will say the dark chocolate works a treat because it really cuts through, like the bitterness, cuts through the sweetness of the caramel and the bake. Like it's, just follow the recipe. It's delicious. Anyway, let's get started on the base and so forth. We have our oven preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. I don't know the conversion for Fahrenheit. I'm really sorry. So that is heating up. We have our kind of sheet pan around 27 by 17, 18 centimeters. I have lined it with baking paper. It will just make it a lot easier to take out later rather than, because the edges will caramelize a little bit. So this will help definitely come out of the pan later much easier. So we have a mixing bowl to which I have added my almond meal, my desiccated coconut. Again, you can use shredded. I'm adding my caster sugar. I'm going to give that a really good mix. And I have got 125 grams of unsalted butter that I just melted. You could do this in the microwave. I just did it on the stovetop because I don't have a microwave in here. So I just did that. Make sure that it doesn't brown. You could do brown butter, but I haven't tried it. So if anyone wants to test that out, by all means, do so. So we're going to combine that really, really well to make sure that's completely incorporated. Be a beautiful crumb mix, look like breadcrumbs. And then I'm going to pour it into the lined baking dish, sheet pan, whatever you want to call it. Just make sure that is completely coated with the butter. Be a nice little crumb mixture, not too drenched. And then we're going to bake it uncovered for 15 minutes. We're going to bake it until it's golden kissed. We don't want it too brown. So I say 15 minutes because that's just how my oven works. Keep an eye on it at about 10-minute mark. If you feel like your oven is runs a little bit hotter, take it out. We want it just slightly golden. So we're going to take it out, leave it to cool just on the countertop for 30 minutes while we make our filling. And then we're going to pour the filling on top of the biscuit, the base mixture, and rebake it. So if you overbake the base too much, we're going to bake it again, and then it's just going to essentially get kind of burnt. So let's put the filling mixture into the sheet pan as such. I spread it out evenly. And what I like to do to make an even base, obviously use the back of the spoon, but we want to kind of make sure that it's pressed down firmly. So I'm going to use the back of a glass cup or jar, whatever you have at hand, right? Okay, just a round bottom and just really compact that. It makes a world of difference. You could use a spatula initially. I like to just use a cup, to be honest. Gives a nice even surface, really helps compact that base, and that is it. I'll show you what it looks like. there you have it. Don't worry that there's a little bit of ring marks. That's okay, because once it bakes, the butter will kind of, you know, melt it out a little bit and it'll be a nice smoother surface. So as you can see, it is compacted. There is no like big lumps in there. So we're going to put this into the oven. Let's have a look. Oven, let's open it up. Pop her in. 15 minutes. Okay, guys? Keep an eye at it at 10 minutes. And I'll show you what it looks like. We are out of the oven. Can you see that it's slightly golden but not overdone, as you can tell? So I'm going to let that cool down for 30 minutes. Leave that on the countertop. That will obviously harden up as it cools down. We're going to get started on the caramel filling while this is cooling down, because we're going to need to bake it again. And then we have to leave it to completely cool before we do the chocolate topping. So let's go on to the filling. We have our butter in the pan, adding in our condensed milk. And we'll also go, so two 400ml tins of condensed milk. We're going in with our golden syrup. It's going to give it that really nice caramel depth and colour and taste. So half a cup of that. Of course, I'm like trying to scoop every single drop of that. And 2 teaspoons of salt. Again, if you don't like the salted caramel, the salt in caramel, I should say, then by all means, literally just leave the salt out. So what I'm just going to let that kind of melt a little bit. We're going to whisk it for about 6 to 8 minutes on medium-low. And I'll show you when we get to that kind of 5-minute mark what it's going to look like. It's going to obviously thicken but also change in colour. We want it to be obviously more a caramel colour but not too burnt, because we are going to pour this on top of that base and bake it again. And it will obviously, get really, it'll become more richer and deeper in colour when we bake it. So anyway, I'm going to whisk this away with my crappy little whisk. Anyway, we'll come back, okay? They're coming up to the 8-minute mark. I like to push mine to the 8-minute. So medium, low heat. I'm actually going to turn it off now. You will see, look at that colour. And look, of course, I used an amber pot. It's going to go from pale to a medium kind of caramel colour. This is then going to go on top of the base, be baked again, and it's going to get even more caramelly, deeper, dolce de leche, like colour, taste. If you like your caramel slice like a bit more bitter, a bit more richer, then you could push this out to the 10-minute mark. Do not worry if there's can you see there's little grains in the caramel? Don't even worry about that. Don't stress. That is completely normal. I'm going to grab our base. I'm going to pour this on top, and we are going to bake this again. As you can see, it's our beautiful caramel. You see the base lightly golden. I'm going to go ahead and pour that all over as such. I'll make sure that it is an even surface. We're going to bake this uncovered for another 15 minutes. Same temperature. Oven middle rack, and it's going to get even more golden. So I'm going to make sure that it is evenly layered. This is gorgeous. It's a perfect ratio as well. I'll give it a little bit of a tap as well. Hold on. Just a gentle tap to even that out. That's it. Let's bake it for another 15 minutes uncovered, and I'll show you how it changes in colour. I'll let it cool down for an hour before we do our chocolate. Fresh out of the oven. Can you tell my oven's not a fancy oven? That's a little bit more undercooked than that side, but that's okay. That's fine. So we are going to let this cool down on the countertop, not in the fridge, just on the countertop for an hour minimum before we add our chocolate layer. We need this to set a little bit. You can leave it for about 2-3 hours, especially if the weather is cooler like it is here. So just leave it out, then we'll melt our chocolate, pour it on top, add our salt flakes, our crushed hazelnuts. You can leave the nuts out. You could add different nuts, almonds, whatever you like. Anyway, so let's just wait. That's just the only thing about making this. It's a start, stop, and wait game. But I've got 100 other things to do that I'm going to do while this cools down. All right, we'll come back soon. We are onto our chocolate, final layer, the chocolate. So I have some water that's just coming up to the boil, and I'm just doing a bain-marie. So then I place a bowl on top, and I'm going to melt the chocolate. You could definitely do this in the microwave. I just don't have one here. So we're going to do it old school. Just a little tip for, for whatever person that might not be aware like I once wasn't. No shame. Don't let the water touch the bowl. If you do, the chocolate will split. So that's just like a little reminder and tip. Don't worry if there's only a little bit of water at the bottom. The steam, we're just going to melt this chocolate. It's not like we're going to be cooking for hours. Add about 2 teaspoons of a neutral oil. This is going to give the chocolate more glossiness. Add it in at this stage. Do not add in oil or anything cold after the chocolate is melted, because it will make it split and go grainy, because you're essentially adding cold to hot. So anyway, that's another thing that I learned when I was dipping my biscotti in. So I'm just helping you troubleshoot. Some of these tips might be useful, some might be obvious, but nonetheless, I thought I'd give you a heads up. Sometimes we just forget. Anyway, I'm going to melt this up, and then I'll show you the consistency we want it. Pour it, add the nuts, salt, and that's it. We have our melted chocolate, and we're just going to literally pour that directly over our caramel mixture. And I'm going to give it a twirl around as such. You could use a spatula, but really you don't need to. Like that. I am going to add some mixture of crushed and ground hazelnuts. I love it. You could pre-toast them. I am not. This time, sometimes I do. I do definitely think that it adds a nicer flavour when you do. So adding all that to the surface of it, this adds another layer of, another texture element as well as flavour. Who doesn't like hazelnut? I mean, if you have allergies, of course, leave them out. But we love it. We love it. Then I'm going to add, just wipe my hands, some salt flakes. I would add it definitely this stage while the chocolate is melted. Adds more flavour. Add as much or little as you like. Definitely tastes amazing with the dark chocolate, as well as it just balances out. That is our boujee salted caramel slice. I love it so much. You will go crazy for this if you love caramel slice. I can guarantee it will be a hit. I'm telling you now, this tray makes about 12 good sizes. So I'd cut 2 rows like that, then another 4. Anyway, beautiful. They freeze well. I'll flip the camera around and we'll have a little rundown of all the details. There you have it, our slab salted caramel slice. It is gorgeous. I cut this out into about 12 even pieces, so you can get the full recipe in my ebook Sweets and Treats. Like I said, download it. You can just get it printed locally or online or whatever you have. So what have I got on here? Again, let's run through. Coconut base. Don't like coconut, you could leave it out. Use plain flour. You could use shredded coconut. The center, you can leave the salt out if you don't like the element of salt with caramel. Topping, dark chocolate, you can use milk, caramel, whatever you like. You can add salt, leave it out. Add any nuts that you like. You could add flaked almonds would also be absolutely delicious in this. I'm gonna let this cool down slightly, place into the fridge overnight. This it will jiggle out. You might need to run just like a little bit of a knife on the edge to let it slip out, but it will come out. Do not worry. I would definitely, when we go to slice it, take it out of the fridge for about 30 minutes or so. Otherwise, just so that the butter's going to solidify in the fridge, of course. So taking it out before you want to like actually remove it from the pan will definitely help. An hour out, just keep it out of obviously the sun. And what else? You can freeze these. I definitely freeze. I'm a big fan of freezing, as you know. When it works, it works. So I would cut them, I would freeze them in a baking tray before transferring it into a container just so they don't touch each other. Take it out of the freezer, put it into a container, into the fridge overnight, or just out on the countertop for a couple of hours and eat it. I do find that sometimes when you freeze this, the caramel mixture won't be as smooth. But does it alter the taste? No, it's literally just a little bit more creamy, but this will keep an airtight container for 3 to 5 days, probably a little bit more, to be honest. You will eat it all. It's a perfect gift to make someone. I cannot wait for my attendee to dig in and enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll probably share a little old snippet of me cutting it and serving it up just so that it saves me having to come back tomorrow and do it all, but I will try to do a demo of me taking it out as well. Anyway, love you and leave you. That's another dessert for you. Hope you love it. Hope you make it. If you do, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, share this episode if you have enjoyed it. And if you make it, please leave me a comment. Let me know how you thought of the dish, the dessert, I should say. Apart from that, ciao. Bye. First things first, I've taken it out of the fridge for about an hour or so. Will not melt, do not worry. I'm just running a knife along the edges, especially the parts where the baking paper has not kind of got, because a bit of the butter and the caramel would have oozed. Literally going to real time. Let's see. Okay. See? Oh, yes. That's kind of ripped. Let's move that aside. Look, clean tray. There you have it. Let's have a look. What I'll do is I'm going to get a large knife, run it under some warm water, wipe the water off, and to get a clean cut. Let's have a look at that. Beautiful, beautiful ratio, gorgeous. I love the corner pieces. It's just a really good slice. It is well worth the like kind of start, stop of it all. I love this so much. It's like my favorite. I'm a caramel girl. You're a caramel girl or guy or whatever, and you were like, I really enjoy and always buy a caramel slice somewhere. I would love to know how to make it. Please give this a crack. You will not be disappointed. Oh my gosh, if this was not an order for a customer, I would literally be eating all of it.